Hey guys, Dov here, back with another unit highlight for Total War Warhammer 2 multiplayer, today featuring flame cannons. Just as a quick reminder, if you like the series, found it useful, go ahead and give it a like, be a friend, tell a friend, give it a share, all that jazz. But anyway, flame cannons. They've kind of been a meme unit for a long time. Now though, they are actually kind of interesting. They do a ridiculous amount of AoE explosion missile damage. They also, of course, deal fire damage, obviously, and they have this discourage effect, which does affect leadership. Only 230 range means this is one of the shortest range artillery pieces in the game, and it's dwarf, of course, so it has, you know, your typical magic resistance, other things, but the main drawback is the low range, and for a long time it had problems firing up and over the targets. Up and over the heads of the Dawi in front of it to hit targets, and was kind of clunky and hard to use as a result. But now it does a much better job firing in an arc, and yeah, against certain factions actually quite strong. So today here, Wei has brought it against Bretonnia, and he's gone with a pretty interesting build. Not something that I think I would take, or think to take, but that's probably why it's good. He's got 3 Iron Breakers here. We know best-in-class defensive infantry along with the Grumbling Guard in a nice little defensive formation with Thorgrim and a Rune Smith. We've got 2 Gyrocopter Brimstone guns here, 2 more here, so a pretty heavy Dawi Air Force anti-cavalry detachment. Got the Green Knight moving in from the back line for Bretonnia. A bunch of questing knights, as you would expect. No, Knights Errant, actually. Interesting. Yeah, with the Fey Enchantress plus the Paladin. Whole bunch of archers and men-at-arms and so on. The archer is definitely a solid pick, but I'm sure, yeah, this build, to me, this Dawi build just screams I would like to get hit in the face by trebuchets, because trebuchets would be horrible for this Dawi build to deal with, but a little bit of a mistake by the Bretonnian player here. The Green Knight gets into combat against Thorgrim, which you might think is not a big deal, but Thorgrim actually does magic damage in melee, and he's got really good stats, to be honest. 61 attack, 62 defense, with the High King buff active, and the Green Knight is losing badly in this engagement. Really does not want to take that. Meanwhile, on the front line, peasants getting blasted by charges, and it looks like the cavalry going to be charging up to the pipe here. And in this type of a situation, just to kind of quickly give you guys a little bit of coaching, when you're facing a defensive position, you want to attack the corners, right? Like, you want to get this unit of Knights Errant and actually come around the side and then issue a charge order into the side of these Iron Breakers. That way you're not going straight into the front. But at this point, this heavy mass of Knights pushing through, trying to get at that flame cannon, who I haven't really been highlighting the whole time, but we take a look. The Bretonnian archers and peasants are having a really bad time, and a lot of that is because of the flame cannon. It also has a super short minimum distance firing, and so we're going to get in close as it lobs shots up and over its friendly Dawi here. I say up and over, actually did some decent friendly fire right there against those Iron Breakers, but Thorgrim using his mass to help keep these Knights Errant back. Likewise, Knights Errant also getting shredded by the gyros in the air, firing down as well. And it's just a bad time for Bretonnia all around already. The gyros don't really have any, I mean, the peasants can shoot up into the air a little bit to try and get back at them, but the flame cannon is making the life of the peasant bowman very, very hot and miserable. So the Grumbling Guard there actually didn't get the bracing bonus from that charge, but it's just against Knights Errant, and they're, you know, they don't have the best AP values in the world anyway. Oh man, looks like they might still have the issue of targeting towards the edge, but considering that concerted push there, I'm very surprised that Wei was able to keep this flame cannon online and firing. It doesn't have a whole lot of ammo and actually goes through its ammo pretty quickly here. Let's check in on the kill count. Yeah, 187 kills. Just about got an XP chevron, mostly from killing peasants and men-at-arms, which is kind of crazy when you stop and think about it, like the amount of value that's generating. Great for blasting chaff, and because of the leadership component, I mean, getting attacked by artillery is already a pretty big hit on leadership. If we go ahead and have a look here, damage by artillery -10, so of course you get that extra effect from the flame, right, giving discourage, and flame cannon actually hitting the gyros there. Very nice. Great friendly fire. But the comet came down, blasted the flame cannon crew. Rune of Negation, though, still has them online. They're getting hit also by the archer fire, so finally one of the guns goes down. Flame cannon crew routes, but not before racking up 196 kills, and actually their XP chevron progress went down from the friendly fire. Oh, that's funny. But yeah, at this point, the peasant archers, you can see the volume is really nice, and had he been able to get set and get firing before, it would have been pretty decent. I think, honestly, for Davina's build, you maybe want to go with some trebuchets here, like even just switching out like the battle pilgrims for like 1 or 2 trebuchets just to pressure this kind of infantry box, and maybe even to throw rocks at the flame cannons too, give you an option to help kind of run things. Likewise, I would say probably worth cutting the shields on the men-at-arms, and maybe even cutting the Grail Relic to go questing knights here, but I like the pick of the Knights Errant for the shields and the fact that they're cheap. Fortunately, they just yeah, had a hard time. And of course, Green Knight versus Thorgrim Grudgebearer, it's not a engagement that people see super often, so it's not one that they think about very much, but Thorgrim does have magic attacks. But anyway, let's go ahead and just quickly finish up about the flame cannon. Definitely not a unit that I would say is meta, or it's decently competitive. Like, you can get away with using it in competitive situations in certain matchups, especially if your opponent's not expecting it. But anytime you have to face like a rush that has potentially a lot of low leadership infantry, the flame cannon, because it has a few factors, right? Not only the damage by artillery leadership debuff, as we saw, plus the burnt is what, minus 18 leadership already potentially. The fact that it does so much damage means that if it gets solid contact in a unit, it can kill like a certain percentage of the unit's hit points or models within like a few seconds, which actually gives an additional very powerful leadership shock. So that's why like one volley from this that makes solid contact can rout off most low tier infantry. I would say maybe like 50 leadership or lower. Let's kind of have a think here. I can't exactly do the mental math right now. There's a lot of different variables, but like greenskins are a good example, or we can also bring up Bretonnia again as well for the peasants. Yeah, like men-at-arms, baseline rockin', yeah, 50 leadership, about what I thought. Like one volley can pretty much send these guys packing. Same thing with, again, like goblins. Goblin archers have even less, right? So things in this kind of category, Ungors as well, right? Many Skaven units, those lower leadership tier units, even Skinks, I would say, although I don't know that you would want to bring this against the Lizardmen, or against the Skaven for that matter. That matchup is cursed. You do whatever you want. This matchup, though, maybe. I mean, maybe. Also for even things like Saurus, again, heavy infantry, the slower heavy infantry get blasted. Even though it doesn't say armor piercing on the tooltip, we have a look at the flame cannon's kind of spread here. It does still do a decent amount of armor piercing damage. Like if you get hit by the missile, of course, directly, 140 armor piercing damage plus 30 explosive. Pretty decent. Definitely very solid. The low range is the biggest downside. That is something to definitely be aware of in a situation where you think your opponent might bring counter artillery. This thing can be very, very tough to make work. Like for Bretonnia, obviously, you got trebuchets, greenskins, like we were talking about before. You could take a bunch of rock lobbers if you wanted to potentially counter this, and I would say generally rock lobber is probably a good idea in this matchup anyway. But yeah, if you have, say, like a cannon plus a flame cannon, it can be tough to go double artillery. Sometimes it's a lot to protect, but flame cannon can help thin out your opponent's forces when you find yourself heavily outnumbered, like Wei was in that situation. And there's also another combo you can do with this plus the Goblobber, right? Because the burnt effect actually counts separately from the discourage effect, which is also pretty strong. It's an additional minus 16, right? Which is huge. The fact that you can stack these two together at a distance means you can effectively rout even some units with higher leadership, maybe on that still have kind of low leadership overall. Like something like Black Orc, 72 is pretty good, but even still, it's not amazing. And you stack these various effects together, plus, of course, the damage that these two artillery pieces would be doing at the same time. And, like, if you go back, I want to say I might have had a flame cannon replay in the past where I was able to rout orcs, black orcs, with just a couple volleys from both of these, making contact. You guys can probably go look and find that if you search Flame Cannon on my channel. You'd probably find that replay, but definitely a very strong combination. There's a few other things you can do, too, to increase weakness to fire. It's a little bit hard to do reliably, but like Dragonback Slayers, for example, have this flammable effect that they imbue with their melee attacks. They will make units weak to fire. You can also use the Thane, who's not a super common pick, but he does have this item here, plus 22% weakness to fire in an AoE, which actually can also be used not only with the flame cannon, but with like blasting charges. Like you kind of send the Thane forward as almost like a bloated corpse, if you will, like a line breaker. He's just going to go forward and try and force your opponent into a little bit of a blob around him. Then you throw in your blasting charges, you throw in your flame cannon shots, gyrocopter brimstone guns also deal fire damage. So actually in Wei's build there, it might be worth, I don't know, maybe you cut one of the iron breakers for like a Longbeard or something else. Maybe you cut the Grumbling Guard, although the vigor refresh from them is very nice. Maybe you cut them for something else. Try and bring a Thane with that weakness to fire item, just because, yeah, like most of the units in his army there did fire damage. But anyway, that's kind of it for today. Hopefully you guys enjoy. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.